Hey guys, it is Mike from Baltimore Rides. How are you guys doing tonight? It is my wrap-up video for Friday the 13th. Yes, I said that right, Friday the 13th. Thankfully, it's over. It's actually Saturday morning around 3 a.m. But, I must have got all the juju and bad magic out of my system, last night's ride with the crazy guy and all that nonsense, because today actually went really well, surprisingly enough. Finished the night with 25 trips, over $200. It says 204 right now, but it's still processing my last ride, so it's somewhere around 210-ish, which I'm fine with. The 25 trips is really what made me happy, because I wanted to do over 20 trips tonight, and then if I get another 25 tomorrow or so, it leaves me with about 15 trips to do on a Sunday, and that's the way I like it. I like having a small day on Sunday. So, all in all, it was a good night. I had a couple long trips that took me out into the middle of nowhere. I was all the way out to Herndon. But really, aside from that, it was just a lot of little trips. I was not discriminatory at all tonight in terms of where the trips took me or where I ended up. The only time I actually turned my app off to reposition myself was the long ride from Herndon. On the way back, I had destination mode on, but it just kept shutting itself off because it wasn't getting any rides at that point. So, really, other than driving back to Herndon and not making any money on the way back, all my trips, wherever they bounced to me, I just got another ping right away. And, was able to just, work ride to ride to ride with very little interruption and very little dead time. There was a little bit of a quiet minute there around like 9 o'clock-ish, where I think the city was, kind of transitioning from dinner mode to go out and party mode. But really, other than that one little period that was quiet for about 20, 30 minutes, it was just back-to-back trips. I mean, it was great, very steady. So, good night, very much a back in the saddles night. My week-to-date number right now, as of where I stand, is just about $630. And that's great. I mean, I'll be honest, considering the soft week that I had, 2 more $200 nights puts me over $1,000, and then the bonus money for the quest will put me, right at the 1,100 number that I'm looking for. So, all is kind of lining up properly. I don't know what, Saturday and Sunday will bring, but tomorrow's weather is similar to today's. Fallish weather, cool, a little chance of a sprinkle here or there, but otherwise nothing really nasty. Sunday's weather's kind of like the same. So, that's great. That cool weather is phenomenal because people don't want to walk, they want to ride. And if it sprinkles, even more so. So, all in all, it was really, really a good night. I do not have anything to complain about tonight. I'm actually in a really great mood. I ended up having to buy a second cup of coffee, which frustrated me a little bit because I'm trying to cut back on my caffeine intake. But I needed it to kind of just, get my second wind. I kind of got not sleepy, but, a little bit tired around 11:30, and I just needed something to just jolt me back awake. But guys, just a good night all in all. I really appreciate everybody that's been sending me messages and asking me questions. Somebody asked me a question the other day about the background check process, and I'll be honest, guys, that's the one thing that I have no knowledge of whatsoever. When I first signed up for this, I just did all the stuff they asked you to do. I scanned all the stupid pictures of, whatever, and that was it. I'm a ghost. I don't really have anything bad on my background, so I'm a good boy, I guess, whatever you want to call it, a goody two shoes. So, and my name is unique. I mean, my last name is Bavosa. It's Italian. There's no one else on this planet with my last name unless they're a relative of mine. So it's not like a, like a John Smith name where there's going to be maybe a background check glitch where they're connecting the wrong person to the wrong file. And I'm, like I said, I'm a clean whistle. So other than that, like I said, I'm trying to help you guys as much as I can. If you ask me questions, if I don't know the answer, then obviously I'll tell you. But wherever I can help, that's what we're here for, is to bounce ideas off each other. And I think that's the case. I am strongly contemplating just taking my Lyft stickers out of my window. Like I'm not using it, and at this particular point right now, based on the way I'm operating, it just doesn't make sense to. I don't know. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with that at this point, but I'm not using Lyft. I haven't turned it on in forever. So, that's kind of where we stand, guys. I do want to do some research on Monday, my day off, on the dash cam situation, because I strongly think it will be a good idea. And then, that's kind of my next hurdle is the diet thing. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not really a big guy. I'm like 150, 160 pounds soaking wet. I'm 5'8". I'm a skinny dude. But I am starting to develop a belly. And I know it's partly because I'm 40 and my metabolism is slowing down. But it's partly because I'm sitting on my ass all day. Pardon my language, but that's our job, is to sit in the driver's seat and just drive people around. And I've been eating healthy. I'm eating yogurt, I'm eating nuts, I'm eating, salads. So I don't think it's like the bad food choices so much as it is the, just I'm not burning as many calories as I used to. And, my eating cycle is all weird. I was talking to, somebody one of my friends, and they were basically telling me, like, look, your sleep schedule's weird, your eating schedule's weird, your body's circadian rhythms are all thrown off, and until you figure that out, your body's going to be converting food into fat because it doesn't really know what the hell you're doing. So I've got to do a little homework on that. If it's happening to me, I'm sure it's happening to all of us. We're not all, I don't know. I don't think it's something unique to me. I think this sedentary, sitting on your butt kind of a job tends to have some problems. And, I don't want to affect my heart. I don't want to put myself at risk for anything down the road. So obviously I'm thinking about it now before it becomes a problem. But, that's it. I have one little small gripe that I do want to bring up, and I don't really have any concrete examples, but Waze has been acting weird lately. I'm not going to lie. It's been acting a little bit weird, and, I've uninstalled, reinstalled it. It's up to date. It's gotten all of its updates. It's got its shots. Whatever you want to call it. It's a little bit laggy and sluggish, and I feel like it's kind of just weird. I'm not going to go back to Google. I'm not going to go back to Uber Nav because I do like the functionality of Waze. I like the police camera information, the traffic information, the alternate routes recalculating. The features that are built into Waze are phenomenal. My frustration is just the sluggishness. And the GPS pins in Waze don't always line up with the GPS pins in Uber. And so what I've been doing, and this may work for some of you guys if you're experiencing the same thing I am, when I get close, let's call it a block or 1,000 feet away from the person's destination, I actually flip back to Uber. I don't shut down Waze. I just kind of flip back to the Uber app and let it run in the background. Because the Uber pin is actually the customer's pin. It's what they set as their pickup location or drop-off location. So first of all, it's going to be where they told me to go. Second of all, I feel like it's a little bit more accurate GPS data. Waze is kind of weird. Sometimes Waze puts you in the back of a building, or Just does some funky stuff that I'm not 100% a fan of in the city. So I've been flipping back and forth. As I get close to their destination or their pickup address, I flip to Uber, and then that way it kind of gives me I'm looking at the same screen the customer's looking at, and, from that perspective. So let me know if you guys have been experiencing the same thing, or if you have a better solution, because really that's all I can come up with right now, that works for me. So just kind of give me some feedback on that. And then, the next thing I want to do, I was talking to somebody tonight about Gridwise. I do want to make a video about Gridwise where I show you the different layers and features, because if you're not using it, guys, you should be. It really is an amazing app. It's got a lot of different layers in it, a lot of different, odd little bits of information that I just find very useful. Even though I'm not really at the airport anymore, I like the calendar feature with all the upcoming events. And there's a lot to it, and it's pretty impressive. So I will do a video about that maybe one day. And but in the meantime, download the app. It's free. It's not one you got to pay for. A lot of people talk about the pay apps like Mistro and some of the other ones where you have to pay, and I do pay for the QuickBooks app. I'm not going to lie. It's $12 a month or $14 a month, something like that. But you basically get a break on your taxes because it's linked to the TurboTax software, and it's amazing. So it's worth, and I can write it off as a business expense. So it's worth it to me to have a good tax software, so that when it comes tax time, I'm not screwed. Because that's the main goal here, guys, is to keep as much of our money as we're making. And ultimately, guys, that's the secret to this, is that we expense as much as we can. Now, here's the trick. Okay, here's the trick, and I'm going to talk about taxes for a few minutes. Okay, because I hope you guys are all doing this. Log all your mileage. Now, the way mileage works for us is the minute you leave your house to the minute you get home. You track your whole day's mileage, not just while you have customers in the car. Okay? You track your whole day's mileage, start to finish. Your shift, if you want to call it that. Okay, so that's rule number one. And you want to track that, log that daily. Every day you want to write down what miles you drove when you finished your shift at the end of that day. Then, separate from that, you want to track all your finances, your business expenses, fuel. So every time you put gas in the car, you want to save those receipts. Food while you're in the car working, so your meals. Any supplies you buy for the vehicle, whether it's cleaning supplies, a new set of tires, a dash cam, a cell phone mount, whatever. Any supplies you buy for the car for work, you want to save those receipts. Your insurance, your automobile insurance. And then what you do at the end of the year is you have one of two choices. You can do your itemized deductions, where you itemize your gas and your vehicle. Well, okay, so let's take away food, let's take away supplies. But your vehicle write-off is one of two choices: actual mileage or actual dollars. And so here's how this works, okay? Actual mileage is always going to be the better of the two. You can count as many gas receipts and spare tires and vehicle maintenance and oil changes as you want, but the federal government allows you to write off 54 cents for every mile driven. Now, for us, like for me as an example, I'm roughly going to drive 50,000 miles. So that's $25,000 I can as a write-off, a deduction. It's huge. I don't know if I'll be able to count $25,000 worth of gas and oil changes and whatnot. So that 54 cents per mile is depreciation on the vehicle. So it's your payment. You can't deduct your payment if you're taking the mileage deduction. It's fuel, so gas. It's maintenance, meaning oil changes and preventative maintenance. So it's anything vehicle related. So you're going to save everything. You're going to count both ways, but more than likely you're going to go with actual mileage if you've been saving your mileage. The next step is all the other stuff you're spending money on. So that would be supplies like cleaning supplies, cell phone supplies, your cell phone bill, your monthly cell phone bill. If you're doing any work at home related to Uber, even if it's just you're sitting at your desk, adding up all your receipts and logging everything at the end of the night, you can write off a small home office area. The one I write off is basically my desk, so it's a 5x5 area, and you can actually write off a 5x5 square foot or 25 square feet of your home. So I rent, so then I have to do the math and figure out what's the square footage of my apartment, blah, blah, blah. But you can write that off. If you use the internet while you're at home, you can write that off if it's part of your work. So like YouTube videos for me. Research. If you do any research online, you're looking at any websites, you're reading forums, you can count part of your internet bill. Any expense that you build into it, any apps that you have to pay a membership for, like the QuickBooks app for taxes, any software that goes into Uber, so any business expense that you incur in order to do your business, to do your job, you can save receipts for that. So you have to itemize it and add it in as other business expenses. Some of that stuff is called deductions, and some of that stuff is whatever the other term is. I don't know. There's two different terms for deductions. Deduct from your taxable income, and then the other one is like a credit. So it's your tax person will help you with that. But save everything. And literally what I do, guys, is I just get a manila envelope, one of those big 8x11 manila envelopes. I write the month on it. I throw everything in, all the receipts in there. I seal it up and I throw it in a box. It doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be stapled. It doesn't have to, none of that crap matters. If you're using the app to track all your transactions, then the app is going to give you, at the end of the day, the nice, clean, itemized list. So you don't have to go and add all this stuff up by hand, but save the receipts. Just throw them in a box. Because God forbid if the IRS audits you one day, you just hand them the box and say, go to town. And let them dig through all the receipts and add them up and do all their nonsense. You don't have to make it easy for them. You just have to provide all the information. You don't have to make it pretty. So you throw it in a manila envelope, write the month on it, seal it, throw it in a box, and then at the end of the year you have 12 manila envelopes worth of receipts. You put in any other paperwork you need. That box is your taxes for that year. But your app has recorded all your transactions. So I'll cover QuickBooks another day, but if you guys are not thinking about taxes and expenses and things like that now, you should be. The goal as a self-employed business person is to show Uncle Sam very little profit. Meaning how much we make every week when we get paid minus how much we expense equals profit. And the goal is to show them zero profit. Now that's got some wrinkles that go along with it, guys. If you're showing zero profit on your tax returns and you're going to buy a house, and the bank asks for your tax returns to prove your income, well, guess what? Your income is going to show zero income. So, that's a tricky, little puzzle in and of itself. But for most of us that are already have a living situation, just know that, that's the reality of being a self-employed business person, is that your goal is to show as little income as possible. as little profit as possible. Profit is the word we're talking about here. Income, expenses equals profit. And I'll do another whole video on that, guys, when we get closer to tax season. But save everything. Save all your receipts. Doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be neat little stapled with writing on it and all that nonsense. You're never going to look at these receipts again, especially once you expense them in the app and everything is recorded. You're just going to throw them in an envelope or throw them in a box and call it a day. But you got to have them, because if you don't have receipts to prove your transactions and the IRS decides to audit you, then you're going to be in trouble. So that's that. That's my public service announcement for the night, guys. I'm wrapping it up. Like I said, we're kind of back on track, and I will be back on the road tomorrow, guys. We're shooting for another 25 plus trips tomorrow, and then that'll put us in really good shape for Sunday. So everybody have a great night, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.